Hey Procreate users, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're focusing on a typography drill. So you're gonna be able to come away from this video and set text like a boss. Do not make the worst amateurish text setting mistake that is out there. That is a pet peeve of mine. I see it all the time. We're gonna crush that one. Teach you how to set your tracking, your leading. If you don't know what those words mean, you definitely need to stick around for this. Actions, we're going to add text. I'm just going to go ahead and type in a quick message. It's going to be a two-part message. First part says, "May your day be filled with magic." If I hit return, which I didn't because this was all just one continuous line, if I had hit return and see, as soon as you hit that return, Procreate wants to make that next line be a capital letter. So that's a bit of an annoying default. So our first message is simply, "May your day be filled with magic." What if I want to change this typeface? If I just go to the select tool, I can move this around as a box. I can scale it, and I can scale this pretty infinitely. This is still basically a vector shape. So when we look at our layers, you'll see a little A has shown up there. This is still a text layer. To edit the characters, I'm going to have to click Edit Text. If I change this to be anything other than a text layer, meaning rasterized, if I click on this layer and I say rasterize it, that little A that was in there indicating that it was a text layer, that goes away. And now I'm not going to be able to change any spelling. This has become a pixelated object. And in fact, if I kind of move it off the screen like that, deselect, and then go to move it around, it's gone. So now it's just an object. We're going to undo, till we get we're back to having this be a text layer. To edit the text, I'm going to click in here. Now I can come in with a cursor. I can select individual layers, lines, characters. May your day be filled with. We're going to change the typeface on that. I can do it here. I could select from that little window, and now my whole menu comes up for the features of my type. So here's my list of fonts that I can choose from. Sticks to math. I can adjust the size here, make this a little smaller. Kerning and tracking, what is that? Kerning you don't use as often as tracking. It's really to get in between individual characters, like two characters at a time, to squeeze their space. So kerning is what you would choose when you want to get in and only adjust one individual character at a time. So right now the T is selected and the kerning is only affecting the space just after the letter T. Then if I bounce over and do that to the letter L, I can close up the spacing between L and E. Tracking is going to do that more universally. So if I want to really open that up into a very modern, open, hyper-extended tracking, I slide that. If I want to squish it all together really, really tight, pull the tracking down. So for mine, I'm just going to open the tracking maybe like 5%, not too much. Remember when I wrote this line, I didn't put any returns in. I didn't hit return. If I want magic to be treated as a different line of text, I do have to put a return in there. And now, if I come in here and select both lines of my text, I can either just click on anywhere on these features or this double A to bring up my text menu. Let's adjust the leading. Tighten it up, squeeze it down. That's making these lines be a lot closer together. What is leading? What does leading mean? So I happen to have this handy little letter Q here. This is from a very old, ancient, antique printing press. I got this at an antique store. When they used to set type, and it was basically stamps, you know, a metal printing press would ink these letters. That's why it's backwards Q. When they wanted to set the distance between the lines of type, they would put bars of metal or lead in between your lines. And so that's where the term leading comes from. What if we just want magic to be a little different, maybe a different font? I'm gonna come in here and I think we're gonna do babyface on this. It's a cute little scripty, there we go, babyface. Let's talk about one of my pet peeves. Notice this word looks pretty nice, magic, right? This is a script font and everything's connecting. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people don't understand tracking settings. If you have a default set for open tracking, you get things like that. I see that so much.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
This type of font isn't designed to be hyper-tracked, so just make sure the tracking's at 0. That stuff matters. What if we want to get back in here, change colors, change sizes? We can still do that again because we haven't rasterized anything. Let's let magic maybe be a little larger. I'm going to tighten up the leading. Now watch this. The leading again is the line spacing. I've only selected the word magic here. So if I try to move the leading around, nothing is actually happening. In order to adjust the leading, I have to tell Procreate the leading between this line and this line. So I need to have both of them be selected. And then I can squeeze my leading to be tighter, like that. Okay. What I'm going to do is actually duplicate this because I've chosen my typefaces, and just for the sake of being consistent, it's easier for me to make a new layer and then edit the text in here rather than go back and remember exactly which typeface I chose and exactly which point size they are, especially now that I've scaled them up and down. It's probably something weird like, 51.8. I can't remember that. So duplicate, go in here. We're going to edit this text. And the rest of my message will be, and may you not be too busy to notice. Oh, that's not even how we spell notice. That is, but I didn't want that capitalized. Thank you, Procreate. Unshift, notice. There we go. It's coming together, but needs a little help. It's centered right now. I'm actually going to go ahead and have this be left justified. I'm going to start to change the colors a little bit. I've gone to a medium gray so that I can see as I'm changing my text colors. All right, so I've got a powder blue that I want to match again. I've selected it. It's up here. It's in my history. I could also add it to a palette if I wanted to. But I'm going to just go over here now, edit this bottom text. I want the word notice to be that same powder blue from my history palette. And I still may have to adjust those later, but one last change here with the justification. May you not be too busy to notice. I'm going to put that as left justified as well. And you can kind of see that things got a little scrunched now. That T is running right into the top line. That would be called, negative leading. Look, I've got definitely negative leading going on here. So I'll open that up a little bit more. It's still, if I put it at 0, we have a big gap, but I do want it negative. I just wanted a little breathing room. When we look at text and we look at typography, sometimes you need to not look at it as a sentence that you're reading and just look at it as shapes. Look at it as positive and negative space. I want to actually block this out differently. So come back into the edit. May you not be too busy to notice. And I'm going to kind of align that on the same vertical as where that G is. So we kind of still get this feeling of, It's centered-ish. It's centered in the composition. It's kind of got a symmetry to it, but it's not just super predictable and static. It has a little bit of movement. And so with words like magic, you kind of want a little bit of movement and organic feeling to it. If we really want magic to get creative, I'm bringing that layer up to the top. May your day be filled with magic. I'm going to duplicate this layer. We're going to play a little bit with this. I'm going to take out may your day be filled with. Now we're just dealing with the word magic here. There are a few things that we can do while it's still editable text, but there are more things we can do if we rasterize it. Once you have decided like that's going to be how the characters look, it is okay to go ahead and click on that and rasterize your text. Now, like I said, it's just an image. So we can kind of treat this however we would any other object. And what I like to do is maybe warp it a little bit. So if I choose warp, this was from my selection here, instead of freeform or uniform, which uniform we would use to move it all around, go to warp. And I can just kind of bend these letters a little bit. I can give them a little more of a curve. And remember, I duplicated the layer that had this. So if I really mess this up, I can kind of go back to how it was. But if I like that, then I can just go to uniform. I can sort of move this or even size it up. And now we have magic. I could rotate it just a little, give it a little more movement. And back here, may your day be filled with, I'll duplicate that again, make it visible, and get rid of the old word magic in there. So I have a good little phrase going here. I'm going to just quickly right swipe and group them all together. This way it's easy for me to move the text just as one big text block. Procreate's telling me that this would be where to center it, but I've got to kind of go with my gut and be a little more off the grid there. What I'm really centering on is kind of where the margins are, and making those margins feel like they're well framed. It's also snapping, which is driving me a little nuts because I need it to let me do my thing here. There we go. So we've set some type. Let's give this a cool background color, like a really deep, dark purple. In layer, I have a layer here. You can add a layer. I will add a little bit of kind of a lighter blue with the luminance nebula. Right. That's pretty magical. And then maybe choose almost white again. Go to the luminance glimmer. I'll do this on a different layer just in case I want to reposition it. Throw in some little magical touches. If I really want this to pop away and have a little bit of a drop shadow, there's a really quick way I can do that. Since all my type is grouped, I can duplicate this group. I can just flatten the group. Go to my hue, saturation, and brightness, and just bring it all the way down. Now it's black, right? I've turned all that text black real quickly, and I'm going to go back in here with a Gaussian blur. I'm going to drag my brush so the threshold setting is getting blurry up there. Okay. I feel like some of it got lost on that small type, so I'll just duplicate the layer and look at that. It doubles it up, makes it really dark. I'll pinch them together and move them behind the new group. So now I've got a little bit more of an edge back there, and it really helps the type to sort of pop off. If I want, I can offset that so it's more of a drop shadow. uniform selection, and you can kind of drop it down to the left. And if that's too dark and you want to be subtle, that's just one layer, so you can go ahead and kick back your opacity. And there you go. Now it's really legible. Because I can't leave well enough alone, I just want something more special on that word magic. So here's a little bonus tip. I'm going to add a new layer on top of magic. I'm taking a airbrush, actually. I'll do a medium blend. It's purple. I'm just going to come right across that. I know that just looks awesome, right? But we're going to actually turn this into a clipping mask. We'll do a color burn just for fun. And then back in this layer again, I'm going to take another color. Same brush, just smaller, maybe a little bit less opacity. Just kind of creating some color effects going on in this layer. And if I don't love the layer effect, I can go and change that too. I can blur this out a little bit more. And so maybe now that I have all those colors in, it might look better with a different layer effect. I actually ended up going back to a normal on that, but I feel like it's dark. So what I'll do is in this layer, go back over, make it brighter. There we go. I can change the hue overall. Green does not look that great, but that kind of looks nice. A little more saturation. One more layer, just because sometimes I get started and I can't stop. I'm going to grab the Luminance Light brush. We're going to come in here. This is on a different layer. And I can do a clipping mask again. I don't think I need to, though. I'm just going to kind of freehand this. And come into the little curves. And hopefully my brush is small enough to do this. Oh, that's really big. Smaller. We're just going to kind of put in some little highlights. There are a couple of ways if you want to put an actual sparkle in. I'm going to do it on a different layer. I think the light pen is going to be a little bit more manageable because it's a smaller kind of brush. So if I come in here and I just want to, that's still a little bit big, just draw a little sparkle. I think we're almost there. I don't really like the color choice for the word notice, but if you remember, notice is still actually editable text. So I can just go in there, edit my text. Can't see it unless I make my screen very small. Go ahead and just change my color up here. So I think I'm gonna go just all the way to white on that. And there we have it. A few text tips for you in Procreate. Please don't forget to like this channel and subscribe for more art insights from Rockin Chalk.